Just waiting for some folks to join. I guess tonight is just kind of yapping about Phantom while I start to work on some new prosthetic projects that I have. Y'all might have seen a little while back, we had Luke from Phantom Replicas on eBay did a whole set of Phantom prosthetics in silicone. So we're gonna give those a shot. I hope maybe next week, I'm thinking, but that's what they look like. And this is a different material from what I usually use, which is the slip latex stuff. So with silicone, you paint it a little bit differently, and because it's very just skin-like, you can get some really good realistic options with the paint. So I've not done any of the painting on these yet, so I'm not quite sure what type of scheme I'm going for. Maybe 25th anniversary-ish is kind of the goal. But yeah, so we got a couple people in. I'm sure people are going to wander in and out as we go along. I don't know how long I will be doing this, but maybe for an hour or so. See how it goes. And yeah, so quick background on Phantom prosthetics. Traditionally in the show, they use foam latex for the prosthetic appliances. Now foam is great because it's soft, it's light, it's more comfortable than something like slip latex would be, and it's just been the standard for decades and decades and decades. Fair enough, Tabitha, I don't blame you. I know I'm kind of late over here, but life is life, and so, but yeah, I will probably save this so you can come back and watch it tomorrow or another day. So, yeah, so just talking about Phantom prosthetics again. Foam latex has been the standard for decades and decades. Probably late 90s, 2000s, when it comes to like film and TV, they started going to more silicone, because with silicone you can get it more, it's a more translucent type material, so it really moves like skin too, so you can get a lot more realistic type prosthetics from silicone depending on the sculpt and what you're actually trying to do with the face. Not used a lot on stage because, let's face it, folks on stage are, you know, like a good 20-30 feet away from the closest audience member. So when it comes to, you know, blending edges and realism, they don't have to be super, well, as concerned, I would say, as something like a film or TV application, right? So yeah, so that's why you don't typically see silicone on stage. It's just extra work. It's not really necessary, and it's probably cheaper just to run foam latex instead. But Luke and I have been kind of talking for a while, and when it comes to cosplaying and whatnot, and he is an amazing FX artist. He is Phantom Replicas on eBay. He is out of Europe. So talking about, you know, trying to get something maybe a little bit more realistic than just slip latex, right? Something that would blend a little bit better, look a little bit more skin-like. And so he wanted to go and try it in silicone. So that's what he's done. I have 2 sets of Phantom prosthetics from Luke. They're just test runs right now, so this is kind of his first foray into running silicone, which is very different from running slip latex or foam latex. So these are all very experimental, so we don't know how really they're going to look when they're all painted up, when they're applied, anything, but I said I would be happy to give them a shot and maybe give some feedback depending on how they come out. So if he chooses to do, you know, another set later on, or maybe a new sculpt or anything like that, he'll have that feedback to work with. So silicone, why do we like it so much? Again, skin-like, translucent, but you can encapsulate these in cap plastic, so like your bald cap, which you can burn away the edges on with acetone. You can do the same material over top of the silicone. And what that does is when you go to glue it down, you glue all of this down, and then you can actually take acetone along this little edge here and burn that away. And because you're just burning the cap plastic, Just that kind of like see-through stuff. You're burning that off and it just blends seamlessly into the skin. So interesting. Again, for cosplay, I am on the con floor interacting with people face to face. I'm doing photo shoots. I'm doing content. I'm doing, you know, anything and everything to do with either cameras or interacting with people right up close. So that's why I'm intrigued to try something with silicone just to see, you know, how it's going to work. With these, it's going to be interesting because with silicone, it's much heavier than latex, so it's more dense. So these are pretty, you'll notice he's done a lot of sculpting on these, and they're beautifully sculpted, but they are quite thick. So because they're quite thick, they're also quite heavy. So we're gonna just, again, see how this goes when I apply them next week and see if I can wear them for a while or not. And if not, then hey, we tried. But yeah, so I just like that, you know, Luke and Darren, Justin, everybody's trying to, you know, provide new stuff for the Phantom cosplay community, the collector community, everything like that. So that is pretty cool. So yeah, I hope we can kind of refine this with Luke and maybe start using some more of his moving forward, but go from there. Hey, Tex! Texas Opera Ghost is here, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, dude? My brother and Phantom. This is going to be maybe a little bit boring. I just felt like yapping and doing this stuff. So if you have questions, comments, want to get a dialogue going, that's cool. Otherwise, I'm just going to start kind of fucking around with some color and seeing what happens. So just hanging out waiting for Christmas. Yep, it's that time. I work one more day. I work on Monday, and then I'm off for basically 2 weeks. So that's why I have some Phantom fun coming up, I think. Gonna do some makeups at some point over the next 2 weeks. So very happy. Trying to think where I want to start with these. So if I should start with the head crater or with the cheek piece or not. So this is the head crater. You can see just how well the silicone moves. It's very, very flesh-like. Again, because these are quite thick sculpts, it is quite heavy. So probably can't tell on camera, but yeah, so that's kind of the experimental part of these appliances, is just to see how well they apply and how long I can wear them, or if they need to be kind of cut down and made thinner and lighter. So we'll see. But that is for Luke to do, because I am not the effects sculptor and maker. I am the applier. Lost in Yonkers is here. Hello. Thanks for joining, guys. We've got a couple people in here. Yeah, do feel free to, again, bounce around some dialogue as I do this, or questions. Happy to chat while I experiment here. So, again, I haven't really quite figured out on a real color scheme for this, but I guess I'm going to go for kind of 25th anniversary type feel, because that's what Luke created when he was doing the sculpts. This is very kind of 25th anniversary informed. So yeah. I'm gonna go from there. And the cool thing too, he also sent me polyform face casts, so that when I'm storing these, they can just kind of rest very nice. It's very fancy, guys. It's like bougie. So I'm excited to give this a shot. So I'm gonna start with the cheek piece and go from there. So for silicone, the cool thing with silicone is because it has more of that translucent type feel to it. A lot of people tend to paint either with the glazing gels, or traditionally more the alcohol activated palettes. So I've got these two. Skin Illustrator is kind of the old standby, but also Ripper Effects, I believe they're out of Australia, I think. Love this palette. I kind of got that to replace the Skin Illustrator one, which is almost dead, and loving that. So Ripper Effects, thanks for being awesome. All right, Tex is going to try to get back into Phantom during the break. Awesome. Good. It'd be great to see you back in the costume, dude. So, have had any luck with the suit, or selling the suit, or interest, or are you not pursuing that, or what's the next steps for you? All right. This is kind of the weird, like, Bob Rossi part of it, right? Like, we're just going to get to painting and paint happy little trees. So with alcohol activated makeups, people love these because you can get really thin washes of color. You can layer colors on top of each other, which is more like skin because, you know, we're not just one color. You've got, you know, blood tone, different layers of colors on top of each other. So alcohol activated, great for that. And of course you have to use a specific type of activator because once they dry, they set, and they're very hard to rub off, which is why they are very popular on movie sets. But it does require you use 99% isopropyl alcohol or the activator, which is essentially also just 99% alcohol. Let me see. We got a couple comments and questions. Have I seen Masquerade yet? I have not. I was supposed to go in August. Unfortunately, that fell through. Ghostly Tutor is here, and it's 2 a.m. where they are. Wow, you're a champ. But I do plan to see Masquerade in a couple of weeks. I will be up in New York for BroadwayCon, and I'm sitting on a panel at BroadwayCon, so I'll be in the city, and I've got a couple of friends that do want to go and check out Masquerade. So we will be doing that in a couple of weeks, which I'm excited for. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, you're not the only one that hasn't seen it yet. Yeah, but that's fine. I will be sure to report back on the Masquerade-ness. I kind of know what to expect, but I'm sure I'm going to be surprised anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. All right. So first off, I'm going to probably put what we call a blood tone down. So give that underlying kind of pinkish hue that you would get, again, from having blood vessels and everything like that. So we kind of usually start with a blood tone and then start layering up colors from there. Oh, it's awesome. So it sounds like Tex met another fan when he was up there doing the Macy's parade. He's famous, guys, by the way. So he was on TV. Right? Which brush do I want to start with? And did I clean these after? Nope. Oh, shit. Okay. I did just cosplay, like, I think 2 weeks ago with Flagbridge, and it looks like at least one of the brushes did not get cleaned. So I'll put that guy over there. We'll not be using that one. This guy, that'll do. That'll do. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so Tex, again, Tex is famous, was in the Macy's Day Parade. What else with BroadwayCon? Yeah, so doing a panel at BroadwayCon on Sunday afternoon, I think at 1 o'clock, with Flagbridge and Viscountess New York, talking about the 40th anniversary of the show. And so if you are thinking of coming to BroadwayCon, please hit us up on that Sunday and, you know, partake in some of the discussion. It'll be interesting just to see, you know, who shows up and also kind of what discussion we get into. And with it being the 40th anniversary this year, I'm hoping, you know, we get some fans on there and we start speculating on what different events we think are going to come up, which is actually a good question for you guys. So if you think there are, you know, certain events or announcements that we expect moving into the 40th year of Phantom, let me know. Let's chat about it while we're all here and I'm painting. So I'm just going in with the rose adjuster and adding a little bit of a pink to it. And what I will do once I get all that done is layer some other colors on top of it, which will give it a more natural kind of skin-like appearance. And man, it used to not take me that long to paint prosthetics, but then I started using alcohol paints and getting very, very technical, and it started taking a lot longer. So we'll see how this goes, but I love this sculpt. Luke did a really fantastic job on the sculpt. It's very, very gnarly looking, and he did a great job on the lips too. My only concern is just how deep and how heavy these are, but they are really, really, really pretty. It's funny, just the things that I find pretty, right? All right, Lost in Yonkers is going to do, hopefully, a Phantom cosplay. Awesome. In Denver. That's awesome. I miss Denver. Denver's a great town. More vinyl press releases. I think they're kind of hinting at that. I know, because they have different editions. They had, the white edition, and then the red edition, which I have. It's upstairs. Bought that in Baltimore, and it is phenomenal. I haven't actually listened to the recording because I don't actually have a record player. I might get one, but I did actually buy it just because it is essentially a giant version of the old cassettes, which is what I grew up listening to, and they had the libretto and a bunch of kind of photographs and sketches and everything of the original London cast in there, and I loved it. So just from a nostalgia standpoint, I had to pick that up, and yeah, it was great. So at some point, maybe I will get a record player and actually see the different quality of the audio from record player to, CD or streaming or whatever. So go from there. But yeah, it's I got the red version. I think the white version's been out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see more vinyl stuff coming out. We expect maybe potentially a Broadway announcement. We'll see this year, maybe later. I do fully expect it's going to return to Broadway within the next couple of years. So maybe they will announce that in 2026. We will see. Yeah, I should get a record player. I really should. Everybody I know that has one is always telling me how great the audio quality is. Lost in Yonkers would drop a chandelier for the 25th anniversary vinyl. Yes. Oh. Uh-oh. Trying to scroll with gloves on. It's hard. Yes, cassettes. I grew up on the cassettes. I'm that old. I'm that old, guys. So, I wore out the cassettes. I played them so often that I actually wore out the first set, and I remember I had to beg, borrow, and steal to actually listen to the second act. I got introduced to it in school. Didn't listen to Act 2 in school, so I had to run around and find somebody whose sister, I think, had the cassettes, and then I borrowed that, and then finally was able to go out and buy it a little bit later, and listen to that set of cassettes so many times that eventually I just wore them all out. So, oh yeah, and then the tape player eating the cassette, that does happen. Ugh. And it's the worst too, especially if you really, really, really love something. Of course, the tape player is going to eat it, right? Because you need that thing. But yeah, so I was introduced to it, I think, in 94, 95. And that's kind of all she wrote. Basically, I'd never really listened to Phantom before that. My grandmother was kind of into musical theater and singing and that kind of stuff, so I'm surprised I didn't really know anything about it prior to that. But yeah, so all right, so step 1, added the blood tone down on the silicone. I'm going to have a cough drop because 'tis the season. There we go. So just a quick blood tone, and again, this is going to be a pretty quick paint job, just to see and kind of play around a little bit, and if I really don't like it, I can just undo it, and try again another day, I guess. But from here, now that we've got the blood tone down, I'm going to start putting some different skin tones and layer those in thin layers and kind of build them up. And what I want to try to do is more or less match the color. This is the prosthetic that I had from, I think, 2 weeks ago. So I kept that just for reference and try to match that skin tone as closely as I can. Alright, Vulgarism has a record player. Not been loving the quality. Yeah. Again, I haven't listened to the red records that I bought, but at some point I feel like I need to either borrow that record player or go buy one. But I'm just glad to have the stuff that came with the records, because again, you have the whole libretto in there, much larger pictures of like original London Red Death, Steve Barton, different cast members and scenes, and it just was like nostalgia overflow. It was amazing. Loved it. Sounds like some record players kind of need additional equipment to sound really spectacular by the discussion in the chat. And that's what I'm not interested in. It's funny because I don't really listen to the show at home. People are usually pretty surprised to hear that. And I tend to not listen to the show at all unless I'm actually going to go see it. And that's just because I get super burned out on it. And I've learned over the years to just, in order to kind of keep up the cosplay stuff and keep up just, you know, being a low-key fan influencer, I just kind of learned to not be watching bootlegs at home, not be listening to different cast recordings like I used to. I almost never listen to Phantom at home now, so just have to manage my exposure to it. Favorite adaptations other than the musical? I love the Chaney film. It's classic. You can't not love that one. He's still my favorite film actor. I also really love the 1989 Robert Englund slasher movie. It is not a good movie. It is not. It's not a good movie, but I love it so much. It is essentially Freddy Krueger. Phantom-coated Freddy Krueger. But I do enjoy watching that one. Other favorite adaptations, probably, you know, the original novel, of course. I really loved Susan Kay when I was younger. I read that mid-90s when I was fairly young and did not clock just the rampant racism and other problematic themes in that book. So have not read Kay in a very long time, but I really did love it when I was younger. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of, I just like to see Phantom in different, you know, in different contexts. The Japanese theater, what is that? I'm going to mispronounce it. It's like Takazura, I don't know. But it's all women performing it, and they've done different versions of Phantom. I think they did Yes and Cop It a couple of times, and just their approach to it I think was really interesting. So that was a favorite a few years ago. Yeah, that's kind of the 1990 miniseries. Yes, I have. I've also done a Charles Dance cosplay with a concept makeup as well. You don't actually see his face in that series, but I came up with something that I think could have worked had they actually shown his face. But yeah, I love Charles Dance. It's definitely like you just want to hug the guy, right? You just want to give that version of Eric just a big old hug. because he is a softie until he punches that deer, and then not such a softie. PK Compton is here. Hello, sir. Welcome to Painting with Phantom on a Budget. Yep, good old Cherrick. We do stan Cherrick in this household. So, yeah, and that was probably one of the earlier versions of Phantom that I found. I think after I discovered, so I was introduced via the musical, right? And then shortly after that I read LaRue, and then Kay, and then at some point in there, just I think on public television one night, they were running the 90 miniseries with Charles Dance. So I remember staying up late and watching that, hoping I wouldn't get in trouble for staying up late. But yeah. Word up, PK. What's good, my friend? Currently, again, just kind of stippling on this first skin tone layer, and I'm already loving how this looks. Oh my god, I love silicone. They're too heavy, guys. They're too heavy, but they do look damn good. Shit. I love it. So good. I have not played the MASM game. I am not a gamer, so anything to do with video games or kind of online roleplay, anything like that, I'm not really smart on, and I don't take part in, because actually, you wouldn't know it this year, just looking at all my social media and probably through the years, but Phantom and cosplay, just kind of, fandom in general, kind of have to take a back seat most of the time, because I am very busy with some other stuff. So, hello to the folks that are kind of rolling in. Just painting up a set of prosthetics that I will be using in the next few days. And, alright, so that's kind of the first skin tone layer down. I'm going to clean the brush. And I'm going to layer up probably a lighter skin tone now over that. And go up a step and see what I got. But I love the fandom discussion, guys, so I love answering questions, so keep hitting me. Yeah, I've actually done more probably Phantom makeup and cosplay in 2025 than I have in the previous 22 years of all of my cosplay experience, and that's just because, you know, don't have the time because of work and, you know, current people in leadership positions in this country have really messed with my day-to-day schedule, which means I don't really get to enjoy the horse that I have. I don't spend much time with my horse anymore, but I do have, you know, a little bit more free time during the week to kind of play with cosplay stuff and makeup and whatnot. So, just for the chat, what is everybody's favorite adaptation of Phantom? Since there are very many. Hit me with your favorite version of Phantom. Bonus points to the most obscure one you guys get. I'm curious now what you guys are into. But yeah, so 2025 has been a pretty good year for me for Phantom makeups. And I suspect that's going to probably keep going a little bit into 2026. But we'll see. Starting off right away with BroadwayCon. And so jumping right into it. And then from there, I'm not exactly sure what the schedule looks like until probably October, where I plan to be back in London for hopefully the 40th anniversary gala performance, if they open that up to the public and I'm able to get some tickets. And then musical con, probably, I guess. It's fine. It's not the best convention out there, but it's a convention, so I go and I cosplay. Alright, so Yonkers likes the 90 version, of course, the miniseries, and then the Mazam, I guess, the game. Oh, you watched the 1925 version a couple times this week. For any particular reason? Or just to watch it? I did watch it a couple times this year just because it was of course, the 100th anniversary, and I was planning that Lon Chaney makeup, so I spent a little extra time kind of revisiting that, and that was fun, actually. Like, I really do enjoy that movie, and then I got to see it with a live band here in the local area, connected with them, and they were doing this big sort of North American tour of their live soundtrack to the Chaney film and the old Nosferatu silent film. So really kind of going around to different, you know, kind of theaters that will do showings of the old classic movies. So that was fun. I got to kind of cosplay there as part of their event, which was nice. All right. So for PK, yep, Hal's staging is the favorite, brilliant original. You did get to go see Masquerade, so you have some folks here that are curious about Masquerade if you want to enlighten them. You know, if you have a few comments, be curious to know what you think of it. I will be there in a couple of weeks to go see it later in January. Nice. Yeah, sometimes it's just nice to have a film running in the background. Like if I wasn't talking to you guys, I would have, what do I have? Glass Onion is queued up. So whenever I'm done with you guys, I will have that running in the background. I'm on a big Knives Out kick right now. I love all those movies. And I've had the first one, Knives Out, I think 3 nights in a row I watched it. I don't know why. But it is kind of like that background noise movie for me right now. And, yeah. But, actually that's a little bit heavy. So with alcohol paints, you can thin them out a lot, depending how much activator or alcohol that you use. So if the brush gets a little bit dry, or the activator on the actual paint palette gets a little bit dry, it'll start to get thicker, and then you just have to watch that because it can go on too thick, and then you have to go back and thin it out. Yeah, PK, fill us in on Masquerade. What to expect? Good, bad, interesting. Let's hear it. All right, I can still go lighter on that, so I am going to go with the Oyster, that one, and kind of layer that up really thin and just start to, I'm also not painting, I am stippling, I'm just kind of dabbing the brush on, so you get the kind of like little brush points instead of strokes. And those, when you stipple, it looks a little bit more realistic than if I were to go in there with a brush and just start doing brush strokes. So little pinpoints. Okay, so it sounds like Masquerade is a good blend of the book, musical, and film. Which film? I'm assuming it's the 2004 version. I'm guessing. Yes, and in Masquerade they do actually call him Eric, which is good. I've heard that Hugh Pinero has been pretty involved with just the other Phantoms in terms of, I think, just kind of fleshing out that character and getting them up to speed, and he's a big K guy. So I'm curious to see kind of how... I'm going to try to see him. I think I do want to see Hugh. Him or Telly, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see if his approach historically, and he is kind of K-informed and LaRue informed, but I think mostly K, but to see how that kind of comes out in his performance. Cool. Yeah, that'll be pretty rad. I'm looking forward to it. I fully admit, when it comes to Masquerade, I was super enthusiastic about it when they were doing all the marketing back in the spring. You know, they were kind enough to send me a personalized letter, an invitation. And then kind of once the photos came out and the Vogue article kind of gave me a weird feeling about it. So I think the enthusiasm kind of dropped off a bit for a while. And then again, I was supposed to go see it in August. Life came up and wasn't able to make it. And I think that also kind of just, I took the wind out of my sails a little bit. But good to hear that fans are going and enjoying it. And I haven't really seen a truly critical review of Masquerade yet. So I think that's pretty telling that everybody so far really seems to enjoy it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm trying to get over the whole waistcoat situation. I don't love the white cheap looking waistcoat, but it's fine. I'm gonna be fine. Everything's fine. It's all good. There are greater things to worry about in life than the color of the Phantom's waistcoat in Masquerade. Alright, getting there on this one. So it's still kind of pink, but again, just kind of layering the skin colors on there thinly. Yeah, I know it's very, again, PK can probably shed some more light, but it is very interactive from what I've seen, and yet sometimes the Phantom will actually take your hand and lead you through different scenes. I think the young Phantom interacts quite a bit with the crowd too. You have actors giving stuff to attendees, whether it's notes or invitations or different things. So I think that's pretty cool about Masquerade. I'm just curious to see kind of the world that they've built within that building and what it looks like and what it feels like. Yeah, so long story short, while my kind of enthusiasm dampened for it a little bit, the friends that are going with me in January are psyched about it, and we're longtime fan buddies. So they're all old school, kind of like me, and they really can't wait to get up there and see it. So that's making me excited. And also just Phantom hanging time. All right, so kind of just comparing skin tones here, and I've got, this is the Krylon TV Paint Stick. This is a cream makeup, and this is what I use for the good side of the face when I'm in the Weber Phantom makeup scheme. And I have kind of found in the past that I struggle a little bit to get the right match with the alcohol activated paints. So I do have the rubber mask grease paint version of this in the same shade, also by Krylon. So I can match it up. If I were just to use the grease paints on the prosthetics, I can get that matched up pretty well. I don't get it matched up as well if I'm just using the alcohol activated paints, which I've been doing a lot more of. So I am just putting a little bit of that cream makeup on the back of my wrist here so I can get that powdered and set, kind of mimic the skin tone that I would have over here with that, and get that matched up a little bit better with the prosthetic. Actually, not too far off, so nice. It's going a little bit faster. All right. Yep, quite a few Phantom alumni in Masquerade. So you've got Jeremy Stoll, you've got Hugh, obviously. Satomi Hoffman's in there. You have Kaylee is in there. You got a handful, actually, from the Broadway production. So nice to see that they're still involved, because I think they're kind of bringing the Broadway legacy over into Masquerade a little bit. It's nice. I think it's cool. Yeah, so, and also, so I know, like, with the Broadway production when that closed, that was rough for a lot of them, because a lot of those cast members had been with the show for a very long time. So I'm glad to see that they're able to kind of continue on with it a little bit. It's good. Come on. All right. So do we anticipate any kind of fun announcements this year, with it being, again, the 40th anniversary coming up in October? Do we think Angela Weber or Cameron McIntosh or anybody is going to do anything kind of unexpected? Or are you all predicting anything kind of wild and crazy this year being announced? Or we just kind of expect it's going to be status quo? What do we think? I got money on them announcing a Broadway revival in 2028, maybe 2029. I think that could be coming, and they might announce it this year. Who knows? I'm excited to go back to London, and I hope that they make the 40th anniversary show available to the public. They did for the 30th, and I was there for the 30th in London. So hoping to come back and do that again. And for the 30th, they had a bunch of, former Phantoms, I think. I don't remember if Sarah Brightman was there that night or not. She was there for the 25th in New York, which I was also there for. So I sometimes confuse which gala performance I'm thinking of. I did actually get to talk to Sarah Brightman. I was in a little conversation circle with her and my ex and Kevin Gray. This is only a few weeks before he passed away, unfortunately, and his wife Dodie Pettit. Yeah, so that was a core memory for me. Hung out briefly with Sarah Brightman. No big deal. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, 25th anniversary. I was talking about the anniversary on Broadway, not the concert. Although we can talk about the concert if you want to. It is a topic for people. People usually either love it or they hate it. Make a Broadway stop like Beetlejuice. Did Beetlejuice, the tour, go to Broadway briefly? I mean, I know it's there now. They reopened it. I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to tour for a couple of years. And they might keep it touring, but we anticipate that the tour model is going to go onto Broadway, probably in a smaller house than the Majestic. And I think because that model is running very well on the West End. So I imagine they probably want to, go with that. That seems like a smart business practice. Yeah. Really? Is that a limited engagement on Broadway, or are they planning just to sit that down and leave it there? That's very weird. Burns, elaborate. So they were very shocked seeing the U.S. tour, having only seen the pro shot of 25th anniversary concert. Not knowing how, yeah. So the actual production, as you now know, so I'm glad that you got to see the tour. They are amazing. I love them. Yeah, it's lush. It's very involved. And the thing that the 25th anniversary couldn't accomplish, because it wasn't really a production, it was a concert, right? They had to do a lot of it with, the LED screens. They couldn't use certain set pieces. It was a staged concert. And I think a lot of people get very upset with that because they think it's an actual production, when in fact, the 25th anniversary from Royal Albert Hall was simply a staged concert. So I think when people forget that, they think of it as being very cheap. There was a lot of concern, but there was some concern over here before the tour opened that, because somebody got wind of they were using LED screens in the new tour, and they immediately thought just of the 25th anniversary concert and how that looked. And back in 2011, that was not great technology. it didn't look great, and so people were kind of automatically assuming that it was going to look like that and it was going to replace set pieces. It did not, right? So nice to see that one technology allows good use of LED enhancements, I guess is the best way to call them, and not trying to recreate the concert itself. Yeah, I'd say like the 25th, it's love-hate for me. I guess I have to always tell again, staged concert, not production. And I wonder if maybe they should have put it in maybe if there was a larger house available on the West End at the time, maybe moved stuff in there for a week and do a bunch of different shows and piece together a pro shot. That would make sense. We're not going to do that. So on one hand, I love the 25th anniversary concert a hell of a lot more than the 2004 movie. And I'm glad that was out, and I'm glad that fans like you got introduced to Phantom through that, because it's a lot better than getting introduced through the movie. But again, it's just not quite the same as the actual production. And which again is very, very involved. It's one of the larger productions that actually goes out there and tours. And there was a time in the United States where we had multiple tours going on at the same time. Each one is like carting around 20 tractor trailers full of stuff. So it was a lot to move around, but they did it. So, but I'm glad to see that it's out touring again and people are getting to see it. The cast is fire. I love them dearly. They're also just great human beings, and I've actually got to interact with some of the cast members and actually the creative team. So it's kind of fun, talking makeup with the makeup designer. Has been wild. Yeah, I agree. I think the 25th anniversary, it doesn't do a great job of reminding people that it's a stage concert, not a production. So, but again, that's why people are freaking out when they think of LED screens in the new tour. They think the awful screens that were used in the concert. But yeah, pretty happy with that, actually. Pretty happy. So, we'll see. I think that's a good match, actually. I might start getting into some of the fun stuff. All the different colors. Getting into kind of the gnarly bit down here. I'm going to start doing that. Oh, thank you. The horse plates in the background. So that's got Man of War, Secretariat, and Ruffian. A bunch of famous racehorses. I'm a huge horse person. I'm a horse person above and beyond anything I do with Phantom. Horses are my #1 priority in life. And if you were able to look around here, you'd see that the entire house is basically horse themed. And Phantom I keep in one room upstairs in the back corner of the house, so I don't have to look at it. So again, I get burned out on Phantom very easily. So, but not horses. Horses are my favorite. All right, let me see. So with the 25th anniversary makeup scheme, it was actually pretty toned down because they had the cameras. So they would have, if no cameras, not recording, they would have probably done a lot more color. Bigger, bolder color, again, for Royal Albert Hall. It's pretty large. But when they were filming, they actually kept kind of the color toned down a little bit for the camera. So let's see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to put more of the rose adjuster in the gnarly bit, especially in the deeper parts of it, and start to build that up and see what I think. Let's see what I think. Oh yeah, now if we're going to talk horses, I can talk all night, but... So going back to Man of War lines, that's awesome. It's funny, so I've owned and trained and ridden thoroughbreds all my life, and Had plenty of warm bloods too throughout the years, but all my personal horses have been thoroughbreds, which my trainer friends, I used to train and ride professionally, believe it or not, before I changed careers, and even now, like, my friend from college who has a training business, she will hit me up, she's like, what about this line? Because they have a lot of thoroughbred ex-race horses that they're doing, you know, the canter stuff and the rehoming and whatnot, and I'm like, dude, I'm not that smart on bloodlines, actually. I just ride them. I ride them and I jump them. Yeah, PK, good point. Like, this is a lot to sing in, and I'm not a singer, so I have really no context for what that must be like, but just kind of, especially this particular set, you weren't here when I was talking about it, but these being silicone, and with silicone being pretty dense, and these are actually very large, deep sculpts, it means that there's a lot of silicone here. So these are actually quite heavy. So, and it'll be interesting to see how they wear, but yeah, to have to sing with all that on, it's, that would be a challenge. It is a challenge, even just for me to be in makeup, because I can be in it all day, and I usually am. I'm very rarely in makeup less than 8 to 10 hours is probably the shortest I've been, and the longest I've been, it's probably like 17 hours, so I am used to wearing it, but it's a lot of maintenance. And certainly, like, if you're doing like a talk or trying to have lunch or do anything that requires a lot of moving with the mouth, it just is, yeah, it's a lot. So, but having to sing through that, especially with the lip prosthetics, yeah, that had to be frustrating. Yeah, it's a lot. But you know, talking about the actual stage prosthetics, because they do use foam latex, and they're not quite as thick as this, almost, but not quite. So it's a little less bulky. But I think, too, that's kind of why they've gotten away a little bit from the lip prosthetics. I feel like some more recent makeups have had less around the lip. And I don't know if that's because people are fed up trying to sing with it, or if it's a kind of a makeup maintenance decision, but I feel like there's usually a little bit less on around the lip these days than before. So, yeah, Burns, I'm not a quarter horse person, so I don't really know, other than, I don't really know any quarter horses. Known some really great ones in life, but in terms of actual bloodlines, I have absolutely no clue. So, like I said, I just ride them. Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is just adding in a little bit more of that pink color on the deeper areas here. I'm not trying to paint everything pink. As you see the little ridges, I want to keep those on a lighter color, and just kind of adding a little bit more pink in here so I can, in a minute, go in with a much deeper red for all the really darker, deeper areas and give it more depth. So, oh, this is a pretty deep sculpt already, but you can add a lot of dimension into a prosthetic with how you paint it. So that's why I kind of just start with a little bit of a rose adjuster down here to give the pink. And then I'm going to start playing with some other colors and go from there. So, what else is going on? So these prosthetics are by phantomreplicas on eBay. He is out of Europe. And this particular set of prosthetics is currently not available. They're a test set. These are silicone, and this is kind of his first run of silicone, so I'm kind of testing them out for him. And but he does do really great latex prosthetics as well, and very affordable and really nice sculpt. So definitely check him out. If you're in the States, there's also Studio DFX, who is out of Tennessee. So that might be easier shipping-wise, but he has several different sculpts from different productions, different actors, and he does both prosthetics, so prosthetic appliances, and he can do a couple of them actually as a mask. So instead of having to actually glue the prosthetic onto your face, he does the sort of deformity mask, and that's really, I think, is pretty helpful for people that want the look but don't want to do the makeup. Yeah, the makeup's been through a lot of different variations over the years, and London has changed and been through many different versions, and as has Broadway, and they were different, and so every production is different from other productions, and even with the longer running ones, they will change the makeup, you know, get a different sculpt, they'll have a different paint job, so there's been quite a variety in the makeup, but yeah, definitely I feel like the last couple of years they've kind of gotten away from the lip as much, although it's there on the world tour. I really want to get a good look at the world tour. That makeup looks fantastic, the hints that I'm getting. So I want to see that, and even in West End, actually, I think when I was there in October, I thought I noticed a little bit more lip on Dean this go around. So maybe it is making a comeback, and it's probably also in part due to actor preference, because as you've found, some people don't like singing with all of that and having to fight it. But that was kind of the point, though, with the original design, is to have them, to give them something to kind of work against and have to emote through. And the idea was that it was going to make the character look a little bit more, I guess, pitiful. So that was kind of the point of the lip deformity being the way that it was. Oh, these are painting up nice. Luke, how dare you? Are the prosthetics from Studio D heavy? No, they are not. So he can do slip latex, which I have here. So slip latex, again, is just you paint in layers of just liquid latex, or you pour liquid latex into the mold and then pour out the excess and let that dry. So slip latex is pretty thin and light and very flexible. So his are, again, very light and easy to wear all day. He can do foam as well, which is also light and very, probably a little bit more comfortable than slip, if I'm being honest. But no, his are great, and Luke does, I don't know if he does foam latex, but he has done a lot of his stuff in slip latex as well. These are silicone, and again, these aren't available yet to buy, because this is his first version in silicone. So these are very heavy, but again, I think just some refining on the sculpt and the mold to use maybe a little bit less silicone would lighten these up quite a bit. But no, the ones that you can buy from Luke and the ones that you can buy from Darren at Studio D are all very, very, very light. So you know, I never got to meet Thelma. I feel like, because I've been backstage a couple times at the Majestic, but I always managed to kind of miss her, which is too bad. So I never got to actually meet her, but she, you know, certainly was kind of one of the preeminent makeup artists on Broadway, and like you know, she founded the Makeup Union. So a legend, absolute legend, and you know, one of the people that was working on Broadway from almost the very beginning, I think. So, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Previous, like, back in the day, when I made my own prosthetics, because I had a sculpt, and not as good as these, and not as good as Darren's, much simpler sculpt. I could paint pretty much the forehead and the cheek stuff up in about an hour. good to go, and that's just not the case anymore. These are so detailed. And I'm trying to make them look fairly real. So, in the blue eye, yeah, so for those that don't know or watching this back later, the original makeup had Crawford in a white contact. And back in the day, contact technology was not super outstanding in 1985. So it was probably a hard contact lens. I remember just reading stories about how just uncomfortable that was for him, and it kind of half blinded him. So the white contact in the original production did not last too long, and we hadn't really seen it back, I think, until Jonathan Rocksmith rocked it on the world tour a few years ago. And he's, of course, been back in the role since, and so every time he's in the role, he will wear the contact lens. And his most recent run, he did something a little bit different, where he actually had, I think, 3 contact lenses. So he would start out Act 1 with a blue lens, like a very piercing, bright blue, and then that would kind of go white later on in the show. And then by the time the final layer got there, he actually had really a very gnarly, kind of infected looking contact. And the idea is that this was an active infection of some kind, and it was affecting his eye, and it was getting really gross by the end of the show. So I love that. I love that when actors, they kind of bring that to the role and get really into it. They have kind of a backstory. I think that's really cool. So I've got all these little ridges that are very detailed, and what I'm doing is putting just a bunch of color in the deepest part and wiping it off from the top so it sits just in the deepest section of the sculpt. And that's, again, kind of the cool thing about alcohol activated paints, is that you can really play with, how they sit, where they sit, and very cool. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's amazing the things that I find pretty. Hideously disfigured man. Beautiful. Love it. All right. What else is going on? Hi, Griffin. Not super exciting tonight. Just kind of doing my painting on these new prosthetics that I got from Luke, and answering questions and kind of having a discussion. So feel free to let fly. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I like the contact lens, and I have a contact. I have a white contact. There it is. That I wear now, and having done that, I personally will probably never go back to not having a contact lens. I just feel like it adds so much to, the character. It's so cool. So I will, from now on, always, at least in the Weber version of Phantom, always have a contact lens on. Which I should probably order a new one, because that one is about a year old and probably is due to get thrown away. Have I cosplayed Madame Giry? Kind of. So if you look on my Instagram, I have a few different reels. I've made content as Madame Giry. I've not actually cosplayed her out in the open. So, yeah, I hesitate to call that cosplaying. It's kind of like a closet cosplay, I guess. But I've actually only seen maybe 3 or 4 people do her properly over the years. It's really not been a lot. So I would love to see more people cosplay her. That would be fantastic. Yeah, so again, for the wig that I got for the Madame Giry stuff I do for the content, I bought it on Etsy, and it's actually a Princess Leia wig, because she also has the braid going over the crown. The person to ask, honestly, is Lily Pond 81. Lily as in the flower, pond as in the body of water, 81, all one word. Go check her out on Instagram. She is a professional on Broadway, actually, and does this for a living. So, and she did, throwing brushes around, she did the setting on Flagbridge Designs, has a Madame Jury cosplay. Yep, Lily Pond 81, that's the one. That's Christine Evans. She's fantastic. She dressed Flagbridge's Madame Jury wig, and it is impeccable. So there's a trick to it. I'm not going to pretend to know what that trick is. Because again, I bought that one wig, and I've just kind of left it the way that it came. And I'm not messing with it, because that is a lot of hair work that I am not comfortable doing. So, but there's a trick. Yeah, the Phantom makeup is, it's fun to paint, and I'm sure it's fun to draw too, and there's a lot of options that you can do with the deformity and that kind of stuff. So I think it's always interesting to kind of like put your own spin on it. And this is actually flaking now, so. Okay. Yep, I've got some cracking already on the paint job, so that sucks. Okay. Live might be over pretty soon here, guys. Yeah, so to be fair, I did not really seal these before I started, so I'm guessing I probably should have put maybe a layer of packs down on this first. Well, interesting. So what's happening is, as I'm layering the paint on here, it's actually already beginning to kind of crack as I'm moving this around. So, probably no sense in going forward on this one. I will need to probably strip this and then probably seal it with some prosthetic adhesive, like a layer of prosthetic adhesive over the top, powder that, and see if that'll help grip a little bit more. I don't have, there's something in the makeup world called PAX paint, P-A-X, and it's just prosthetic adhesive and acrylic paint. So basically it's a paint that really sticks onto whatever you're putting on. And I'm guessing I maybe should have put a layer of PAX down first. Bummer. Oh, good makeup questions, guys. This is my favorite. So what paints do you use on prosthetics? Will standard makeup stick to them? It depends on what the prosthetics are made out of that you're using. So if you get like a set of prosthetics from Darren or Luke, and it's just the slip latex, right? Kind of like the masked latex. Cream makeup really should not be used because it lacks an oil ingredient, and just straight cream makeup like this one will actually eat away at latex over time. If you're just doing it for like a Halloween costume and you're only wearing it for like 2 or 3 hours, don't worry about it. But if you think you want to wear it all day, or maybe save the prosthetics and reuse them, you don't want to use cream, so you have to be very careful about that. Standard makeup, like cosmetic grade makeup that you might find like at a Walgreens or Sephora, it will stick. It's just not as thick, and the coverage isn't as good, and so you'll probably use more of that makeup to kind of get the same effect. If using latex, best option is probably like a grease paint. Alcohol activated paints work too, but these are very expensive, so most cosplayers don't mess with those. And yeah, I mean, again, you can keep it relatively inexpensive and just use cosmetic grade makeup. Just know that you might end up using more of it, and just seal it really, really well. So use a makeup sealer, and like I have the heavy duty stuff. This is the Krylon Fixer Spray. This is like going full nuclear, right? It's very strong, but even like a makeup sealer that you would get from Walgreens is fine. Hairspray will work in a pinch, but that'll keep the makeup a little bit more in place on the prosthetics. Couple more questions. Besides cosplaying, do I sing too? And you're new here. Hi, Nightwish lady. Welcome. I don't sing. You don't want to hear that. I did actually sing in high school a little bit, so I can carry a tune as a second soprano in the back of the chorus. That's about the extent of my singing ability. I do not sing when I'm in cosplay as the Phantom because, one, that kind of wrecks the illusion, me being a woman. As soon as I open my mouth, it kind of wrecks the illusion of my cosplay. And but also I do not sing solo at all. I had to do that once in college, and just like 16 bars, right? Like not even a lot of solo time, but that was as somebody that has grown up playing classical piano and clarinet and performing and like riding and competing horses and like performing in pressure situations, that was the worst afternoon of my life. Horrible. But I love listening to people that can sing. Are the prosthetic molds made out of silicone or plaster? So most will be made out of plaster. If you are running silicone, I think you can run silicone and plaster, but most will do flat molds with like a rubber mold instead. Typically, you will mostly run silicone in a flat mold. But my latex ones that I pull, they're sitting behind me on the floor, all wrapped up, but Darren did a custom set of Phantom prosthetics for me and gave me the molds. And so those are plaster, and I just kind of paint in the latex, let that dry, and then I pull them out, and I've got an unlimited number of prosthetics. So plaster is easiest. But if you're looking to go super bougie and try to run silicone, then that's going to be a very different process, and I recommend you research that because it's very different from running latex. So, all right, I might call it a day because that is cracking, and I'm not going to keep painting something just to have it peel right off. So I'm going to start playing around, I think, with some sealing options, and what I might try on the headpiece, maybe another day, is just putting down a layer of prosthetic adhesive over the top, letting that dry, powdering it, and then painting on top of that layer and seeing if I can get that to stick a little bit better. Because man, this painting up so nice. And I'm really loving how it looks when it's starting to get some color on it. It's giving Ramin 25th anniversary like I want it to. And now it's just cracking all to hell. So I'm not going to keep going with that one. Tell me what else you guys want to know. I might play with this a little bit longer. Or if it's quiet, I'm going to go figure out some troubleshooting options here. But yeah, if you're looking for just kind of basic Phantom prosthetic tips, go to my website, phantomonabudget.com, and I kind of walk you through how to make a very basic plaster mold and a sculpt, and that will allow you to make your own prosthetics from home. And yeah, it's relatively straightforward if you're doing that. What glue do I use? It depends on what I am doing. So with the bald cap, I use a plastic bald cap. So with that, I found the specific type of bald cap I like from Makeup Armory in the UK. Plays really well with the Silicone formula of the prosthetic adhesive, or Prosade for short. You can use Prosade for everything on a Phantom makeup. And from the bald cap to the prosthetics, everything like that. So Prosade, for those that are thinking of trying it, It's a great adhesive. It's relatively inexpensive. It's usually on par with spirit gum, if not maybe a little bit cheaper than spirit gum, depending on the brand. So I recommend Prosade. So this is an acrylic-based glue, and so that makes it very pliable. Unlike spirit gum, which spirit gum, when that dries, it actually tends to kind of harden up. And so that's one reason why it's not great for prosthetics. But Prosade is great and affordable. Now, because I am in prosthetics usually for 12 hours or more, while I use Prosade for the bald cap, I will use Telesis for the prosthetics. Just because this is a silicone adhesive, and this is arguably, silicone adhesives in general are the strongest out there. I'm sure people will debate me on whether or not Telesis brand is the best, or if it's another brand. But I will use a very strong silicone adhesive on the prosthetics themselves, just so I don't have to maintain as much. I will still have to go in and re-glue around the mouth a couple of times, but I find the Telesis is amazing. What is a bald cap made out of? Do I melt it into shape on my head? Yes. So I have a plastic, hi Noah, welcome. I have a plastic bald cap, which they are one-time use only, so I actually have like 6 of them sitting back here in my kit. And I could probably actually get one out, so yes, it's buried in there. If you want to see one, I can pull one out. But they are vinyl plastic, so thicker kind of around the back of the head, and then they get really thin kind of down around the face. And the idea is that when you get it kind of set in the right spot, you glue it down, and then just below where you glue it down, you can take acetone and dip a brush in acetone or a Q-tip, and then kind of just roll away the plastic edge, and that will create this really smooth, seamless transition into the skin. And so plastic bald caps are kind of the way to go these days. You don't see latex bald caps as much because the plastic ones are just as easy to apply and look a lot better, right? So I do have a latex bald cap over there, and I had one just because with these, again, silicone, I was going to be burning away the flashing and the edge here, which is just capped plastic. But if I'm doing that on a plastic bald cap, I might be burning through the actual plastic bald cap. So I thought I would get maybe some latex bald caps just to test. But of course, they are actual trash. So they showed up, they're very cheap, they don't fit, great. So never mind, never mind. How do you do the lawn Cheney nose? So it's actually a lot simpler than you think. Basically, with the lawn Cheney nose, you take a strip of, I use tape. I've got oodles and oodles of hockey tape. So much hockey tape. So I will take that and cut it into a little strip that's form-fitting, and you glue it to the tip of your nose, usually down around here, and get a good grip with some Prosade. Right, so prosthetic adhesive on the nose, glue that strip of fabric down, and then you pull it up, and you anchor it between the eyes. And so that'll keep the nose kind of pulled up like that. It's not a massive effect, but it pulls it up just enough. And then you go in there with a bunch of like black, again, I use alcohol activateds because it's not going to rub off, but you can use eyeliner, mascara, whatever, and you go in there and just you make your nostrils look a lot larger and paint them up under the tip of the nose. So between the blacking out of the nostrils and the slight pull-up effect on the nose really heightens the Cheney look. And then you can go in there also with some star wax or latex and cotton and put a little bit more, like create like a tip on the nose. So it just kind of goes like that. So all those things together combine to give you the Cheney look. And that's basically what he did. All right. Lots of lore with Cheney makeup saying that he shoved fish hooks up his nose. I don't buy into that because you can do it without cutting your nose open, basically. So that's how you do it. Just tape it up. Yeah, bald caps are not cheap, especially if you go the plastic route, which again, that's the better quality. The latex ones I got here, I just ordered them, so I don't normally keep latex bald caps. Those were about $11 each, which is half the price of what I pay for the plastic bald caps, right? So certainly the latex ones are more affordable, but man, I haven't seen a good quality latex cap, and those are the Wuchi ones, I think, the brand Wuchi, and I'm not impressed. They're not great, and they're super small too. So, what about the Who Knows? Will that work? What's the Who Knows? Is that like the Grinch people in the village? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I mean, so back on the fandom stuff, again, like, yeah, if you happen to be bald or you're willing to shave your head, that's certainly much easier. But for those of us that aren't willing to go there, the bald caps are a necessity, unfortunately. But actually, you wanted to make your own, you can make your own bald cap too. So blow up the cheapest way to do it is you blow up a balloon, right? And you start layering liquid latex on top of the balloon. And you start off with one really large, thin layer, and then kind of as you work toward the center of the bald cap, you layer more layers of latex so it gets a little bit thicker and stronger. And then you powder that once it's dry, and then you can take it off the balloon, and then you have a very rudimentary but homemade bald cap. So that's an option. And for $30, they sell what they call the redhead. This is styrofoam head, but the red head is a plastic, just smooth face head form that you can again also make latex or plastic bald caps on. And so, you know, $30, that's slightly more than just one plastic bald cap. So get one of those and just a bunch of liquid latex, and you can make as many bald caps as you want. So those are a couple of cheaper ways of doing it. And that actually kind of lets you customize it too, because once you make one or two and kind of see how they fit on your head, you can start playing around with, you know, where you thin out kind of this area, how thick you make the top. So it's a little bit more investment up front, but for probably $45, you can get the red head and a thing of liquid latex and just go to town and make a lot of them. So that's an option. I don't normally have a ton of time to play with this kind of stuff, so I tend to buy the ready-to-go plastic ball caps, as well as that's also why I got out of, kind of outsourced for a while all my prosthetics to Darren, because I got really sick of doing those myself, and also his sculpts were better than mine. So, but yeah. But now I do, like, best of both worlds. I have the sculpt that he did for me, and I can pull my own prosthetics whenever I want. And they look amazing because he did them, not me. So, but yeah. So, yeah. I'm not gonna keep going tonight, I think. I'm going to step back and do a little bit more research on how to better prepare silicone for painting, and I might have to actually mix up some packs myself, which I'd rather not do. And maybe I just paint them with PAX paint instead, which is the prosthetic adhesive and acrylic paint mixed together. Boo. And that's really too bad, because I really liked how this was going. And again, I was going for the 25th anniversary Ramin look, and this was certainly heading that direction before it started to all flake off, so damn it. What do I use to cast my prosthetics? So I use, looking to see if I should have it down here. I use a specific type of mask latex from fxsupply.com. I don't remember where they're out of. I feel like they're out of somewhere in the Midwest. I have been using that for the better part of 20 years. So not that one particular tub, but that supplier. And it's, because it's a mask latex, it's a little bit thicker than the liquid latex you might get at like Spirit Halloween, which is very thin. You can still use that, of course, but I like these slightly more robust, a little bit thicker, more viscous type of mask latex. So fxsupply.com, and I got a tub of it for maybe 30 bucks, and that'll last me for years. And yeah, so that's what I like to use. But again, any liquid latex will work. I prefer that brand personally. And I've used it for a very long time. So, and I think Darren uses a similar type of latex. And get a low ammonia formula, because the less ammonia that's in the latex, the less it's going to shrink. So again, if you're maybe going to make your own bald caps or make your own prosthetics, and you want to make a bunch of them and store them for later, get the low ammonia type of latex, and then you'll have less shrinking over time. So they won't shrink a ton, but it's certainly enough to be a problem if they sit for too long. So, but I've never had that issue, again, with that FX Supply low ammonia masked latex. Love it. It's the best. Nice. So their college has a special effects club, and they're looking to lead a prosthetics product. Nice. Do that. That's really cool. I cosplay because I get to do the effects makeup. I love the cosplay, don't get me wrong. But I do that so I can play with all this fun stuff. So if you can find a group of like-minded people to experiment with and kind of play with, that's fantastic. So occasionally I get to do some trauma simulation makeup at work for different like first responder exercises, that kind of stuff. And, you know, cuts, wounds, broken bones, burns, that kind of stuff, all out of kit. And that's really fun. You might be, you know, if there's like a fire department in your area that needs to run that kind of stuff, talk to them. You can kind of do that for them. Haunted houses during Halloween season is a good way to get more experience. But yeah, so when I do the trauma simulation stuff, I always end up leading the team. I don't really want to, but I always kind of get put in charge of them. And so that's kind of just fun. Some of them are just doing it because they got tagged to do it, and they don't really want to be there doing it. They don't really know what they're doing. And a couple of them, every now and then, you find another like effects nerd. And so that's fun to kind of share the same space with people that are like really into it. So, any other questions? Sorry, the painting was kind of a bust, but that's fine. I will clean that one off and start over after I prep it a little bit better. Kind of thought that might happen. I was hoping it wasn't going to, but that's okay. It's been a minute since I painted on silicone. I've mostly painted on the latex, so I have to remember how to best prep that silicone for paint. So, but it's okay. The prosthetic itself, perfectly usable. I'll just clean this off and do it again another time. But I'm excited to try to use those, and I'm going to try to use them next week, maybe. I've got some time off coming up, so go from there. Mary M, 1776, welcome to the live stream. Just want to say that they love the Phantom makeup. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And wondering how long it takes to put on. Depends on the version that I'm doing, but if we're just going with like that full kind of Lloyd Webber look, it's anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, just depending on, you know, how fast I'm moving that day, how well everything cooperates. Does the bald cap go down right away, or do I have to kind of finagle a little bit? That kind of stuff. So about 3 to 4 hours, just depending on the day. If I'm not doing the bald cap, it's about 45 minutes less. Just sometimes I just do kind of like the first layer version where I got the wig on. I don't have to mess with all that. So that's a little bit less time. And the chainy makeup actually didn't take that long when I did it this fall. So what's my favorite non-Broadway deformity? Ooh. I'd say a tie between like London 2005, 2006, when Earl Carpenter was there. They had, I just loved their paint scheme. And to be fair, I feel like the West End paint scheme is usually really on point. It's a little bit more subdued than Broadway. Smaller house, right? So you don't have to go as crazy with the paint job. So yeah, West End 2005. And then also the Hungarian non-replica had a badass deformity, and it just looked like it had a very kind of skeletal eye socket, and just it's like somebody ripped out the cheek. It's actually kind of a little bit gory, but it looked really, really good. So probably a tie between those two, and that's, you know, high praise for me because I don't normally like non-replicas. But the Hungarian deformity is like peak. Really, really good. Good questions, guys. I can do this all night. It's like a consolation prize for not getting the paint job done, I guess. But yeah, happy to answer any makeup questions. Really like the new tour makeup. Might try to combine it with the Broadway style looks. I think that would look amazing. I do really like the new tour makeup. I think it's great. They, there is a lip on there. It's very subtle. It'll be interesting to see if, depending on the actor, if it changes at all, because, you know, different face structure, maybe on a different shape face, maybe they have more of a lip on there for like Bronson or some understudy. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. But yeah, I do like the Broadway. I just like a bigger lip in general. But I understand why they tend to go away from that. It's just obnoxious to chase it around and sing with it and everything. And I was rewatching, Sam Fleming was the associate costume director on Broadway and for all the North American productions up until Broadway closed in 2023. And I don't know if she's involved with the new one or not. But she's the keeper of all the costumes since like the 1989, right? And she did a mask discussion, or kind of like costume discussion, like 10 years ago. It's on YouTube. And she's talking about how the mask fits, and they're noting how, because the mask has to fit over the prosthetics as they are singing, and the prosthetic is moving, right? It could push the mask up. So they had to be very careful to fit the mask just right over the prosthetics. So as the actor is singing, the prosthetics don't push the mask out of line. So Isaiah is amazing. He is immediately in my top 10. Immediately. He is just fantastic. He's got the most incredible voice, and he brings something, I don't know, it's just a very sincere take on the role. I think it really kind of got the, you know, this is a man who is like really, really, really kind of desperate. And that comes across in his portrayal. He's fantastic. Isaiah's incredible. Yeah, he does have a more of a square face, and so I'm wondering if the makeup sculpt changes at all for each actor. So grateful that, you know, some of the actual makeup team has actually reached out to me, which is wild. And we're just discussing some stuff. And so every actor is 3D scanned. So kind of like the West End, they're not doing the old alginate and plaster life cast anymore. They're just doing a 3D scan. And so I'm curious to see just how, you know, if there is any variation in the makeup sculpt itself from actor to actor. And also, just because the shape of the face, it's going to sit different on the face too anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what all the other guys look like. But yeah. Yeah, it definitely will. So that's why you know, when they're fitting the makeup with the mask, they have to be very careful to make sure it's all working correctly, because they can't just fit the mask to the actor's face. They have to do it, of course, over the prosthetic. And again, as they are moving their face and emoting and seeing that the prosthetic is not fighting the mask or vice versa. So it's a lot of fitting. But yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see how the other guys look. The tour has had some technical gremlins to start out with. Not shocked. For us in Baltimore, the boat was being a right pain in the ass. So, you know, the boat wasn't boating, but there's also a fire department immediately across the street. And I don't know if they're still running radio on the boat, but if they are, then that kind of explains it. Might have gotten some interference from the fire department. Sounds like Dan here had a malfunctioning candelabra. Oh no, it ground to a halt during first layer. Oh no. Oh no. I mean, there's gonna be like teething, right, with a brand new production. I don't know if all the candelabras and all the set pieces, the boat, I don't know if those are all new or if some of them have been pulled out of storage. So I don't know yet. I'm sure I'll find out. Oh yeah, no, Isaiah, his portrayal is just heart-wrenching. So you get the impression that he's like, again, he's so hopeful. And so when he gets his hope dashed, especially in the All I Ask You reprise, it's just like rip my heart out. Ouch. Mary, you're welcome. I'm happy to answer any questions. Did some testing on phantom makeup using just tissues and glue. Yep. It will take a phantom makeup, especially if you're doing it out of kit, which is like building up on your face as you go, with like the glue and tissue or latex and cotton, not using pre-made prosthetic appliances. That will take a while. Of course, you have to like wait for each layer to dry before you add a new layer, and it takes a while. But don't rush it, especially if you're learning to. It's not a quick process. Even for me, I've been doing it for 23 years. I use professional grade prosthetics. Still takes me 3 hours, right? It is what it is. Oh yeah, that sucks. So again, the candelabra not working, the boat not working. The first public performance, or the first public preview in Baltimore, boat didn't want to work going for down once more, so going into second layer. The first layer, kind of got an impression it wasn't going to behave later on, so it just was very slow in the first layer. It got there, it got downstage. They were able to do the scene as normal, but the boat wasn't quite on its cue. And of course, it just crapped out in the second act. So, and then when I was there the following week, the last performance in Baltimore, it refused to go on stage in first layer. It kind of got to the middle. So you could see them, but they hadn't gone under the travelator yet. And they just had to get out and walk on water. And then you had two stagehands trying to drag that thing during the scene into place for the layer scene. And it felt so bad for them. But it's live theater. I love it. I don't know why that's fun for me, but it is fun. So the fact that the candles actually rise and that Raoul actually jumps is amazing. Can't believe they managed that on tour. Yes, so I grew up on the third national tour, which ran from early 90s to 2010. And so from like 2006 to like 2010, I saw them all over the place. I was like their groupie. And not weird at all. But the way that those tours were set up, they have a deck that sits on top of the actual stage. And so these small candles will rise up out of that deck and they telescope. So that's how they get the candles out of the floor. And then, of course, the big candelabras do come in from the wings because they can't do up through the floor on tours. But the bridge jump for Raoul on tour, if they're doing it the same way that they had done for years, it's this big black pillow thing, right? And it's like made out of like velvet or something that doesn't really reflect light in any way. And they roll that on, and he plops down onto it, and they roll him right off, and you don't see it, which is amazing. But it's great they can do that. So that's the magic of Phantom Tour. Was kind of nice to see them using all of those effects that were proven and worked really well, and so just very nice to see. So, oh, another blooper, or almost blooper. Sounds like the cloak got stuck on the throne and couldn't, Isaiah couldn't go back into the throne. That sucks. That's always like a oh shit moment for me. So I'm like, oh my god, is it gonna work? It's gonna work. Was it 2023 in London? We were watching James Gant on. I think it was the musical con weekend, so we were all there in cosplay, a bunch of like 18 of us. And something happened with the throne. I think he broke it. As Raoul was like coming under the portcullis, and he was kind of sitting in it. Something broke, so he couldn't use it, and he literally, like, he picked up his cloak and just walked off, stage right, like, just fucking walked off, just fucked off, which of course he had to, because he didn't have any options, really. Yeah, but the throne is always kind of like a scary option. Oh, Burns, it sounds like I just missed you at the 15th in Baltimore. Nice. Yeah, so that happened again that night. So, sounds like the two stagehands had to move the boat at the matinee that day. They had to do it again in the evening show. That thing was not playing at all. And they jumped right out there, so I think they knew it was coming. They'll come down to Florida at some point. They've only announced through, I think, August of next year. So, and it's a multi-year tour. So, I'm expecting to see the rest of 2026 and probably first part of 2027 announced at some point. And I would imagine they're coming down that way because they're in Chicago until February. Then they're on the West Coast for a while. And so I imagine at some point they're going to have to do a swing down kind of southeast. So, yep. Jeremy still has a good throne story. I'm sure he does. He's got a lot of experience. Yeah, again, like the throne is always kind of like that, oh shit, come on guys, like, is it going to work? So it sounds like it worked out for him, but I've only seen it not work, I think just that one time with James. But there's always kind of that moment. No, that's a lie, I've seen it not work before. And it might have been Broadway. But again, the mechanism didn't work. He did get the cloak up, but the mechanism didn't work, and so he just kind of had to like slide the mask underneath the cloak. And Meg picked it up and just did that with him still sitting there, just covered by the... It's so fun. I love live theater. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, Phantom is not a low-budget cosplay situation at all. I can attest, I'm sure PK can attest, it is not cheap to cosplay from the show at all. But I will say, at least with menswear, I think we have it easier with menswear than with the ladies' dresses because you can't find those really on eBay, can you? Or thrifting. But I've had, before I started commissioning suits, I just did a lot of thrifting for tailcoats and menswear. So, had a lot of luck with that, and that lasted me for years before I decided to level up and get something custom, so. But yeah, tailcoats are usually not cheap. Pro tip, if you can find like a formal wear outlet or like a tuxedo rental place, every now and then, they will clear out old stock, right? So that's how I got my first Phantom tailcoat, was for $15 on eBay, because this place somewhere in the Midwest was getting rid of all of their old tailcoats and just clearing them out. So for $15, it was amazing. That was also in 2005, so been a minute, but you might get lucky. Yeah, getting a used one and just adding it, adding the velvet is the way to go. That's how I did that first coat that I got. I just had a seamstress in the area put the cuff and the velvet collar on it, and it worked out great. So that is a great way to get a pretty accurate looking coat, honestly. Like, most people are not concerned with, you know, the phantom tailcoat fabric, which, you know, the serious people are obsessed about. Most people do just fine with a plain, normal, like wool blend type tailcoat. Put the velvet on there, do a cuff, and from 10 feet away, it looks perfectly accurate. So it's the way to go. Yeah, it sucks when they're not your size. That's the hard part. Yeah, so I've definitely been there. Again, I didn't commission a suit until 2015. So for the first 10 years of my career, that's all I did was just thrift. And so a lot of eBay. I might have gotten one or two pieces locally, but for the most part, it was almost all eBay. So it's a lot of just browsing and hoping that you're getting the timing right. And maybe that day somebody listed something that's perfect. Yeah, and again, like, the phantom cosplay is not actually that complicated because, like you said, and this is something I've told people for decades now at this point, black and white suit, white mask. You don't even need a mask, just cut up a paper plate. Congratulations, you're the Phantom of the Opera. So it's not hard to do. It's hard to get accurate. And that's where it gets complicated. But just a basic, you know, white shirt, black suit jacket, black pants, and a mask and a hat, maybe a cape, and yeah, you're gonna impress 99.99% of people, which is nice. And I'm in favor of that, because if it gets people into cosplaying, do it, right? So, and that's why I like Phantom to start off with, because, like, it's just very recognizable. It's easy. Looks like Mary had a tailored tailcoat. Yeah, so same. So, as Mary said, they start off with basically a vest and a cloak, which is great. A lot of people do that. And it's, again, still recognizable because it's a pretty straightforward cosplay. But when you start adding, you know, more complicated pieces and doing tailored tailcoats and that kind of stuff to try to make it, you know, level it up, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's an easy cosplay to start with anyway. Trying to scroll so I can see everybody's comments. Dan got 2 masks from Darren at Studio D. They're wonderful. And yeah, so Darren will do a lot of customization on a mask, which is nice. I also recommend Longshore. I've been working with Justin for a very long time. I don't have any of Darren's masks yet. I have 4 from Justin. So I'm going to probably get one from Darren at some point. And I've been talking with Emmy at Layer Sculptures. We got a couple that we're looking to do as well. So got a couple from them. But yeah, so the nice thing is, like, especially with Emmy and Darren, is like they can actually customize stuff to whatever you want, really. Like, Darren will do a whole new ass sculpt if you want to, or if you need a specific cut or a tweak on a paint job, he can do that for you too. Emmy will as well, and Justin, if just depending on the time of year, because he's actually very busy, he does not run his shop year round, so you kind of have to catch him at the right time. But he can do some customization too. I'm not sure on the Wandering Child hat feathers. You think they might be raven? Maybe. I'd have to go look that up. I know the Red Death are ostrich feathers, but I'm not sure about the Wandering Child one. And I at some point I need to do that hat, because that's kind of the next step, I think, for me and my cosplayers, going the Wandering Child route. But yeah, get the mask leather lined. It's kind of, I got my Broadway mask here if you all want to see that, and I just prefer the finish of the lining versus not lined. Yep, ostrich feathers for the Red Death hat, which are removable. Yeah, PK has Wandering Child, so Raven, I guess. So I've got my actual Broadway mask here and a Longshore mask here, if you all want to talk masks. While I have them here, and I'm here. Yeah, Red Death is a popular dude. Yep, popular dude. We've got a couple of Red Death cosplayers on there. Matthew being one, so Journey to Lair, of course, is probably the preeminent Red Death cosplayer. There's another individual who's in the fandom who has a highly accurate Red Death. It's just never ever finished, so it's a long story. And yeah, so you have a couple, and I've seen a handful, maybe 3 others that were commissioned by people to do. So one was at BroadwayCon a couple years ago. So yeah, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I dated somebody for many years who is the Red Death guy with a highly accurate costume that's never finished. So we took that to Vegas a couple of times. So it was a lot to move across the country. And also Vegas in general is just obviously hot and not fun. So, yeah, you can actually do the skull staff, the firing bit. It's flash paper. Again, my ex had that too, so it's a lot of engineering stuff, but you can actually make your own skull staff that's functional. Use flash paper and be very, very careful about where you fire that thing, so you don't set anything on fire. Because usually the skull staffs typically are pretty not consistent is the best way to put it, maybe, whether or not they're going to work, and stuff gets backed up and they don't work until you try it again, and then you got 3 things of flash paper coming out, like shooting out. So yeah, just be very, very careful. It's a lot. Yeah, the current tour skull staff is basically a cannon. So I don't know what they did differently with that one, or if they're using different material. That is very. I thought he was going to set something on fire. The old Broadway one, the West End one too. I don't know. I'm guessing they're just older, but they're pretty pathetic. And the new tour one is absolute howitzer of a. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, please be careful with pyro. Honestly, yep. Again, just PTSD from having to live with the skull staff for a couple of years, just constant. Ugh, whatever. Mine, if I have one, will not be functional. It'll just be a prop. So there's that. At some point, I'll probably do that. For mask discussion, again, this is the authentic Broadway mask. The actual meant for Broadway mask. And this is a Justin Longshore mask. So I've got them both here. If you want to talk comparisons or anything like technical masks, go for it. Just in case. But yeah. So I have not seen a ton of people do Wandering Child either. So I know PK's done it. A couple other people have done it, but it's a nice way to kind of, I guess, level up the Phantom costume, get a little bit more technical without having to like redo the cosplay or build Red Death. So, okay, compare everything. So this one is the authentic Broadway mask made by Rodney Gordon in New York. I believe this is a Hugh Pinero mold from back in, so early 2000s. It was a spare. It was in the shop. It was blank, not cut, and not painted. So it was clear plastic. Made its way into someone's hands who did it up for me like this. And so to that individual's give credit where credit is due. He did an amazing job on it. So he used the same kind of kid leather as on Broadway, very thin. So I've got Justin's here. The kid leather is, I don't think this is kid leather. I think it's just a thin something. It's a little bit thicker on Justin's than on the Broadway mask. And the Broadway mask, you'll note too that the wire goes all the way across the inside of it. And you have some as well. I had a Peter Carey mask actually for a minute that had the wire that actually went down into the cheek and then back up over the eyebrow, just to give the mask a little bit more structure and support. But you'll see on the actual stage mask, the wire goes all the way across. Again, for support. They are getting tossed around on stage, so just to make sure nothing breaks, lower risk of cracking, that kind of stuff. So on Justin's, and the ones I've seen from Darren as well are kind of the same, where they tend to glue just the ends of the wire. And so that's hot glue in here. This is also hot glued, by the way. It's not overly complicated. Hot glue, and then you glue in the leather over it, and then you stitch in the wire on the corner and above the ear so that the wire doesn't pull up and move. Which I think Darren is now doing the stitching. I don't know if Justin is. This one is not stitched. It's just glued, the ends here. I will say this is not as comfortable for me to wear as the Broadway one. This was custom cut for me, which is nice. This one, I think the nose fits better. The nose on the Hue one is comically large on me. So lately I've been using this a little bit more for photos. But I will say where the hot glue is here is actually fairly uncomfortable. It does put a lot of pressure just on the forehead. So this one will probably going back up to New York next month for BroadwayCon, so I can kind of walk around with it a little bit longer. Favorite eyebrow design. You know, again, because I'm not entirely sure. I should be a lot more schooled on the different mask molds and the dates. I'm not. There's information that I think is important in my life, and that's just not some of it. Again, I'm pretty sure this is one of the old Hue molds from back in the day. I do like this one. I like the eyebrow on that one. I will say probably early 90s Broadway and North American masks are, I think, kind of first generation eyebrow mint for me. So like 93, 94, I think is my favorite. London tends to have a less prominent eyebrow, and I think that makes them more versatile because there's not an expression like baked in to the mask, so they're more neutral. So I do like that. Like, I like the original Crawford mask too, so there's no eyebrow on that one at all. Yes, Justin does, to PK's point, Justin does do, he has a smaller mold for ladies and just for people that have just smaller faces in general. That's what this is. So he has this is the 90s Broadway that he did in a smaller sculpt as well. So again, this, I think, this would be perfect for me if we could do the wire like the Broadway one and not have this big clump of glue against my forehead. The nose fits a lot better and looks a lot better for me. And I really do probably need the eye cut a little bit larger because this one, I haven't cleaned it, it's still got makeup all over it. This one's just harder for me to see, especially with the prosthetics on, tends to push it out a little bit further. So I have nothing from about here back. Can't see anything. So that one's a little bit more claustrophobic than this guy, which again, thankfully this was cut for me, so I have a lot better peripheral vision in this one, and it doesn't put any kind of pressure on me anywhere. So this one is a lot more comfortable, but Justin's does actually fit me slightly better just in the nose. I can't get over the size of that nose now, I can't, so that's why I don't use it as much. Yeah, it is just hot glued in, but the problem is I'd have to take up all the leather. I don't really feel like doing that, and then re-glue all of it. So I think what I would do for this one is leave it as is, and I'm actually going to try to get, I think, a Davis Gaines mold from Emmy at Layer Sculptures, custom fitted and custom cut, and because they don't really do the wire install like the other two do, so I'm going to have to do the wire install, which is fine, because I'd be doing it like this one, and doing my own leather install on that one too. So more work up front, but I think that one will be whenever I do actually get that later next year, probably, is to do that one up custom. I also very particular these days about when and where I bring this one out, because again, it's an authentic mask and it doesn't need to go everywhere. So I can't replace it. This one is the real deal, and I can't replace it if anything ever happens to it. So it's not retired completely, but I do save it a lot more. Yeah, I might have to add some foam to it, but for the most part, at conventions, I tend to not wear the mask a ton because I'm usually showing off the makeup. So I'll wear it for maybe an hour or two, and then I'll take it off and just kind of carry it, or go just full final layer and not carry the mask at all. So I don't have to wear this too much. It's probably the worst, honestly, if I'm doing content here at home, because I'm in it all day and doing videos and whatnot. So, but hey, you know, I'm not going to complain, because I've been working with Justin for a very long time. He gave me mask. He gave me this one, I think, the Cheney mask, the dance mask, and a Mellows here. Hi, love you guys. But yeah, so he gave me 4 of these, just because, again, our relationship goes back to like 2009, 2010. So I started helping to market him when he was getting the mask business up and running. So he very graciously gifted me a bunch of masks. So for a free one, I'm not complaining. It's quite good. It's just, it has a couple of things that I would tweak, but we'll see. I'm going to get some from Emmy, which will be a little bit more custom, and I think that's probably going to be the long-term answer for me, because apparently I just keep doing this. Every time I think I'm going to retire and move on, I just keep doing it. So I guess this is a thing that I do forever. But yeah. So 25th anniversary mask that he has is too tight around the eye and kind of crushes the nostril. This one too, kind of, the left nostril doesn't get to breathe that great. But that's the problem with a mask that's not custom fit or custom cut. So you kind of have to either just suck it up and deal with it, or modify it yourself, which I'm not comfortable doing. On the Broadway one, for a hot second, I'm like, I might take a heat gun on low setting and try to maybe mold the nose a little bit. But I also don't want to get that wrong. I don't want to crack any of the paint. Again, can't replace this if anything happens to it, so that one's going to be left alone. This one I could play with if I wanted to, but the nice thing with thermoplastic is you can kind of modify it. This one, if I wanted to make it really fit better, I'd probably cut down that a little bit more, if I'm being super picky. But again, free. Looks great for free. Love free. Free's the best. All right, what else is going on? So this mask discussion. Any other questions? This has been going on for a minute. And since I failed at the painting thing, I know we've talked about masks. We've got the wigs here too. If you have any wig questions, and if not, then I'll probably call it a night and get a snack. Hey? Yes, free. Free is good. I'll take perfect, but free's great. Love free. But again, I'm kind of excited to see what I can do with Emmy at Layer Sculptures because they're doing a lot of really cool things with the 3D stuff. I think they also said they might go back to vacuum forming as well. Darren and Justin both do vacuum forming. I think Emmy's the only one doing 3D printing. But just the 3D modeling is really, really cool. All right, PK has one from Costume Armor. Nice. Yeah, a lot of people are making it. Of course, Costume Armor is the company that does the candelabras and whatnot, and a lot of the different set pieces and whatnot and dressings on the set. So that's cool. Is Costume Armor actually selling them, or was that a hookup? I'm curious. I'm just interested to see who's doing what. Yeah, and it's nice to have the three, kind of the main three makers are Justin, Darren, and Emmy. And those are the ones that I recommend. There's been a couple people doing mass production on a smaller level occasionally. But since 2009, 2010, it's actually been so easy to get a good looking, stage accurate looking mask from Justin first and then Darren shortly thereafter. And now Emmy. So, but before that, that was the biggest thing for Phantom cosplayers is the mask. Trying to get one that looked stage accurate because your only option was either to get very lucky on eBay and find an actual stage used authentic mask, which did occasionally happen. And where was I going with that? Yeah, or hire somebody to actually make one. So back in the day, that would cost you several $100s to hire an artist to do the sculpt, mold, other mold, vacuum form, paint, everything like that. So it used to be very, very expensive, but now it's very, very affordable. And so even Justin's the most expensive of the three, and you know, you can get a very, very well done stage accurate mask for like $100-something bucks. That is a steal. Steal. So people complaining about $45 masks, I'm like, don't. Brian at Costume Armor. I'm only asking because there's Brian Phantom Fett, my option. I know he works a lot with Costume Armor for his stuff. What wig cap do I have to wear under a lace wig? Does it have to be smooth designed to prevent tearing? Do I ever do the full wig, which can be pulled off and reveal the bald part? If so, how? Yes, yes, and yes. So I have, again, it's all packed up in my kit, but I just have normal kind of nude colored wig caps. And what I do, again have long hair. I will, instead of doing pin curls, I will put the hair up using a hair wrap technique. So put just a fuck ton of gel in it and just start brushing it around and around and around. Stuff that up under the wig cap, and that allows me to get a smoother, somewhat more uniform look, right? Versus having kind of the lumpy pin curls underneath. And then over that, I'll put the bald cap and apply that and get that glued down. And then on top of the bald cap will be the alopecia wig underneath it. So that's what I have here. Made this very hastily. It's not really a full alopecia wig. It's kind of like a topper. So this winter at some point, it won't be done before BroadwayCon, but at some point earlier in 2026, I'll be making a new, better alopecia wig. But this is just, again, it's on lace. I handmade this. Hand tied, just like on the actual productions. And so it's just fine. This is a film lace, so it's pretty invisible when you get it applied and on the skin. That needs to get cleaned. And so that gets glued down pretty well to the bald cap, so it's nice and secure. And on top of that, come here, buddy. Come here. I've got the Valentino wig, which again, I handmade this, and so this is all hand knotted. There are no wefts, there's nothing machined on here. This is all hand built by me a long time ago. I built 2 of these, so I don't recommend doing that. Please don't build a Valentino wig. Very unnecessary today. But you can get a good lace front wig. Snowflake Heim on Instagram does wig commissions. There's a phantom wig on Wig is Fashion that really is more movie styled, but if you thinned it and trimmed it, it would be a good stage replica wig. But basically, yeah, all you have to do, and all I do, is glue the alopecia wig down really well to the bald cap, and then if I'm wearing the wig, the Valentino wig, I'll have that glued down kind of on the sides by the temples for most of the day, and then when it's time to take that off and maybe do the final layer look, just kind of lift it off. So that's pretty straightforward, and that's how they do it in the show. So the wig's pretty well glued down for first layer, and before final layer, or before point of no return, they will dissolve the glue. I don't even know if they're wearing the Valentino wig underneath the Red Death stuff. A lot of them don't. So usually the Valentino wig might come off before the end of Act 1. And then when they go to put it on before point of no return, they just don't glue it down. And just because these are also custom built to the actor, they fit very, very, very well, and you don't really need to glue them. So it just sits, and then all Christine has to say it like it's easy. She takes the mask and the top of the wig and just lifts it off. So that's how it's done. So I do it the exact same way. I just don't have to worry about somebody ripping it off of me at a convention. I take it off myself. Yeah, long hair with a wig is tricky. It's tricky. And I'm not great with hair either, believe it or not. I've built 3 wigs, but I'm not great with hair. Yeah, so PK, good point. So about $250 for his wig, which I think for a wig commission is probably pretty standard. The Snowflake Heim ones I've seen are probably better quality than the Wig is Fashion one, if I'm being honest. And again, that Wig is Fashion one for a good stage look needs to be thinned out. It's a little bit Gerard Butler-ish. It's too thick. Yeah, and the other thing too is, I don't know if Darren's still doing Valentinos though. He was for a minute. I don't know that he still is, but if he is, great. Because he did a good one. Ben over in the UK had one that he did, looked great. Yeah, and if you are really on a budget, so there are a lot of lace front wigs on Amazon. I hate to give Amazon money, but in fairness, you can get a pretty decent looking one for maybe $60 to $80, and you're still going to have to trim it because they're probably going to be quite long. But that's a more economical option if you're comfortable trimming and styling a wig on your own. Yeah, got to be glued can be good for the wig lace edges. I will usually tack that down with Prosade, or tell us this is overkill, honestly, on the wig lace. So, Prosade, if it's handy, or if I remember to bring it, the KD151 is sort of the industry standard. It's very common for hair professionals when they're doing wigs to use that, and that's more of a spirit gum. So spirit gum, it does have a use in my world. It's just only for lace hair pieces, so I don't use it for anything else. But that's really what spirit gum is designed for, and it's kind of, this is similar type of formula, so. Nice discussion, guys. This got to be actually a good talk. Any other questions? I'm such a nerd. But it's nice, you can actually do kind of the full Phantom Valentino look now, relatively inexpensively. When I did this was I think I finished this one in 2007. No, Valentino 1 I finished in 2007. This one I started in 2008. I didn't actually finish until 2015 because I shelved it for a very long time and it was only like partially completed for the longest time. But in 2007, when I built my first one, there were no lace front wig options for Phantom cosplay. There weren't any. You know, your option was pay for $400 to $500 on a lace front wig, or $2 to $3 grand on a fully ventilated wig, or $300 on the supplies to make a fully ventilated wig. So I went with that one. Still very expensive to make, between the wig lace, which is very expensive, the hair, all that kind of stuff, the wig blocks, whatever. It's about $250 to $300 just for the raw materials, and then about 100 or more hours to actually hand tie everything on here. But again, thankfully, that is not an issue for you guys doing cosplay today. You have options. Yeah, you do have a whole chemistry set glued to your face at conventions. So that's why I tend to stay as close to the con as I can, preferably in the hotel that's being hosted at. So at BroadwayCon, I will stay at the hotel and just like run right up to the room and do any makeup maintenance that I have to do. And then in London at the Excel Center, there's the Loft Hotel, which is right next door. So I always have a room booked there, and actually have the room booked, a suite booked for the convention in October, assuming that I go, but at least the room is booked, right? So that's the only important thing I'm concerned about, because I do have to maintain the makeup over the course of the day. So that's a lot of work and a lot of chemistry set things, which I'm currently looking at because half of it is out on the table right now. So, yep, a lot of flammable warning labels. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I understand why people don't rush out to do the makeup. It's just very involved, but I love effects makeup, man. It's so fun. Quick London question: does the chandelier move at all in Il Muto? It does. They'll pull a cable basically, so one cable pulls it off to the side slightly, and it kind of swings and rattles a little bit before it falls. So. Of course, we don't have the proscenium anymore, so it used to be in the Brilliant Original with the Phantom on the proscenium. He would actually reach out and pull on that wire himself. It's done remotely now, but same effect. So yeah, the chandelier does move a little bit to kind of give people a hint of what is about to happen. But yeah, the tour chandelier is nuts. I think it's a little bit bigger than the London one, and it does shake like hell, and I love that it falls straight down. I know the self-appointed Brilliant Original purist, ridiculous, are mad that it doesn't crash down to the stage or start on the stage. That is a crime against humanity, apparently, for these people. But the fact that it falls vertically, it's gravity, right? It makes more sense and it's more realistic. But it's more exciting too, because it does fall very fast and it blacks out right over the audience, just like the Vegas one did. Doesn't fall as fast as Vegas, but it falls faster than any other production I've seen outside of Vegas. So it's damn fast. Yeah. Yeah, they make that thing rock and roll before they drop it. It's really cool. I'm glad that they do it. So they've taken that effect to the nines. It's great. Yeah, in comparison, the international tour chandelier looks like Christmas decoration. I don't, because I haven't seen any clips from the international tour lately. I'm assuming they're still using the old oval model, maybe. And like, I get it. I have nostalgia for Ruthie and Ruthie 2, the oval models, right? But two things. One, Maria designed originally a round chandelier. They just couldn't make it happen in 1986 with the materials that they had, so they had to lighten it up and squish it so it wasn't so heavy. So now her actual design is actually realized thanks to modern technology and materials, but also they just look better, right? This tour chandelier and the London chandelier, like, they just look better. Period. Dot. They're bigger, they're more elaborate, and they're more impressive. So again, the brilliant original self-appointed Maria Bjornsson Defense League, very pissed off about the new chandeliers when it's just stupid. They look fantastic. So, oh, is the international one like really squished? Yeah. Bummer. Again, like, I have nostalgia for that design, but it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good compared to the new ones. So, but I've been yelled at online for having that opinion. Yeah. That's what it is. Oh, good. The World Tour one is named Hell. It's awesome. Dan, which is the angel still existed, but Isaiah made the horse work super well. He does. Like, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I love the Pegasus statue. I do. I love it. I prefer it over the angel. And that always gets me yelled at online. But I think it makes more sense in the scene. I think it's very well done, and I think it's very impressive looking. People love the angel, and I get it. I miss the look of the angel. I miss the look of the proscenium. I think my perfect show would have the proscenium and the angel fixed up top, but still use the Pegasus statue would be like my perfect show. But he does, yeah, Isaiah climbs to the top of that statue, which scares the shit out of me, because again, I've seen it in London a lot. And I remember, I wasn't at this show, but I do remember John took a header off of that thing. And got a concussion and didn't finish the show. So the dudes in London are strapped in, and they don't climb as high as Isaiah climbed on that thing, and I'm assuming he's also strapped in, but definitely was, I think it's a bigger statue too on the tour. Yeah, and he was right on top of that thing. It was great. Yeah, and his waist grabbed during Music of the Night. He's I'm telling you, y'all, for people watching this later, you haven't lived until you've seen Isaiah as the Phantom. He's incredible. Incredible. But yeah, I mean, I will take that. I will die on that hill. I think the Pegasus statue is great, and Isaiah works it like crazy. And yeah. What else are you guys wondering? What time is it? Oh, shit. 10:30. Okay, I think I've been doing this for like 2 hours. So, last call for questions. Only complained about the new version is that they opened the mirror too early. Good observation. I didn't notice that, but I'm not the type of person that has like the photographic memory of everything happened exactly this way. I don't know if I'm not observant or what, but interesting. Okay, any last questions or last comments or debate material before I head off and go to bed? I will clean all this up tomorrow. I'm not doing it tonight. So they open the mirrored in the first instance. Okay. I don't know when I'm going to see the tour next. It's probably going to be a while. I'll have to, if I get out to see them this summer, I might have to take a look at that. Okay. Any last questions before I go? We're good? Cool. I will be doing the Phantom makeup at some point in the next week or two for the test prosthetics if that goes well and they're comfortable, I will be doing a live, so I'll announce that if anybody is around and has questions. And I'll probably also be doing another one on or around New Year's Day. I'm going to do actually a live with House of Reese. So for those who don't know, Reese got a custom suit as well from AJ. So much like mine. Different because he made some customization to it. But we're going to do a talk about just commissioning suits, phantom suits, and Reese has one of the Broadway tailcoats as well. So that'll be fun, but as soon as we figure that out, exactly which day, exactly which time, we'll announce that. And I might be in costume and makeup for that, I don't know. And then BroadwayCon, the 23rd through the 25th of January. We'll be doing that. Yeah, the custom suits, dude, yep, it's, that was 20 plus years in the making though, so definitely an investment, and they're not cheap, but for folks that definitely want to be doing this for the long haul or want a very nice custom suit that they can wear for formal events, it's the way to go. But yeah, the Womp says no. Same. I almost didn't pull the trigger on that one because of the cost, but I'm glad that I did ultimately. But again, I'm very serious about this and have been doing it for a while. So, but if anybody's ever in position to ever do that, I highly recommend AJ. He is just very professional, obviously does incredible work, and he's got 2 phantom suits under his belt now with a couple of waistcoats on there too. So he's getting very familiar with the phantom stuff, whether he likes it or not. So, yeah, you can absolutely see. That's why you need a tailcoat, right? Because you have to get dressy for Masquerade. See? Justified. Done. There you go. Yeah, so to wrap up, again, I'll announce the stuff with the suit discussion with Reese and any other kind of live live makeup stuff coming up the next couple of weeks, and then of course we'll be doing BroadwayCon. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably be doing either a podcast episode with Flagbridge at the con or a live or something, so we'll go from there. But thanks for the discussion, guys. Dan, PK, you guys are rock stars. Everybody that's been in and out, thanks for the questions. Thanks for all the discussion. I love talking about this stuff, obviously, so I will see you guys on the next one, and have a great weekend, and Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah, and all the things, and I hope everybody has a great, happy, and safe, relaxing holiday season. Be kind to yourself and others, and see you guys later.